How's where you are? Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. In Northampton, the most beautiful place in Europe. The pearl of England, the jewel of the UK. Northampton. I say that a little bit tongue-in-cheek. Any of you guys who live in the UK know what I mean. Northampton is just sort of a bit of a rinky-dink working-class town in the Midlands, but I love it here. Those of you in the US and Canada and stuff, you probably wouldn't appreciate it. I know that you do have a place actually in the US called Northampton, though. You have a Southampton, a Northampton, a Westhampton, and an Easthampton. Alhamdulillah. Okay. Right, so the topic that I'm going to talk about today is about marriage and parenting, inshallah. That may come as a bit of a surprise. I mean, I don't do loads of that. I mean, there are kind of undertones of undertones of family and having children and parenting and stuff like that in all my content, because my YouTube channel is kind of learning Somali meets kind of family. That's kind of the main reason why I learned Somali. It's mainly for my kids and for me to have a better marriage. So it does really make sense for me to have this conversation, and it's also just so important. Like, I mean, we in our times particularly, we're not great at marriage or parenting at the moment. We have our struggles. Apologies for being in my car as well. Before we get into it, I was in a hotel room. I had booked a hotel room for yesterday and today, but they kicked me out. Probably racist. No, it's because I was doing other work for too long. Yeah, they kicked me out. So this video is hosted in the prestigious Peugeot 207. You thought I was from Devon. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Devon, aduwuna rajim. Devon's our accursed enemy. They're our next door neighbours in Devon. I'm actually from Cornwall. I grew up in Cornwall. I was born here in Northampton. I grew up in Cornwall. Cornwall are worst enemies with Devon. When we drive through Devon, we're making rude finger gestures at everybody as we drive through Devon up to the rest of the civilised world in the UK. Yeah. No, we're worst enemies with Devon. Why did you think I was from Devon? Devon can do one. Okay, who else is here? Assalamu alaikum, those of you who are joining me. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Cool, while we're waiting for some other people to join, perhaps I'll do another little shout out. For those of you who do not know, SamOfSomalia is on Patreon. Why are we on Patreon? Well, we are on Patreon because although I love creating the Somali language resources that I do, and creating daily videos as well as putting stuff on my website and podcasts and stuff, although I make it all available for free, it's not free to make. In fact, it costs quite a lot of money in equipment and in software and in recording space, and then it's very, very expensive in time. It takes a long time to plan and shoot and edit and distribute all of the content as well. And if any of you guys, inshallah, can ease that burden a little bit and become a closer part of the project, for $1 a month, $5 a month, $10 a month, then that would mean the world. So, but it's not just that. It's not just about helping raise funds for the project. It's also to build a bit of a closer community, so that I can give you rewards and stuff for being part of it. So that's Patreon. I want to give a little shout out to that. And then also I have a little gift for you guys at the end as well. I'm going to give you a discount for something as well at the end. Not a product of mine, a product of one of the sponsors. Cool. Who else is here? Wa alaikum salam. Wa alaikum salam. Wa alaikum salam. So let me begin. I mean, there's a few things I want to talk about, inshallah. I don't want to delay this too long, because I'm going to put this on YouTube, and the people who watch on YouTube will be waiting a while for me to actually get into the nitty-gritty of it. So this week's been a bit of a rough week, man. Like, at the beginning of this week, YouTube and social media and stuff is such a place where sometimes things can come into your sight, and in that way consume it in a way, even if it's just a picture, that you wouldn't want. So, you know how, like, our bodies are basically what we eat. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you have a really decent diet, you'll have a decent body. Like, if you'll have a healthy mind, you'll have, you'll have a clear head, and you'll just feel good if you eat good stuff. And it's actually the same with our minds as well. Like, if we put good quality information and good quality messages and stuff in our minds, then our minds become better, our hearts become better, our souls are happier. But we live in a time now where like people can just put things in front of you that if you're to consume them, they really harm you. You know, it's almost the equivalent of people being allowed to put food in your mouth. You know, when people are allowed to put things in your sight. And I was on YouTube at the beginning of this week, and I came across like this atheist video, and it had like some funny title. It was like a discussion with a Christian or something, and I come from a Christian background myself and loads of atheist friends, and I just clicked on it because it looked funny and stuff, and I just got down this rabbit hole of atheism really, and I just felt something really dark happening to me, you know, because we are massively influenced by the stuff that we consume and by people that we like watching. Like, sometimes you might find someone and you think, oh, they have a completely different ideology to me, I'd never accept what they're preaching, but I find them entertaining, I find them funny, like I think they're a nice person, and that can be really dangerous, you know, because you can find yourself warming to their ideas and their ideology and stuff, and like I found myself go to a really dark place this week, and you know, it made me think a little bit about our kids. You know, like when we put our kids, if our kids are watching TV and our kids are on a phone watching YouTube videos and stuff, like it's no secret that loads of our kids are watching YouTube and stuff. Like my son does, you know, like we're aware of it, so we really, really consciously limit it, and we try to give him plenty of options and stuff to not have to do that. You know, loads of options for him to play outside and, you know, do education activities and come to the masjid with me and stuff, and we you know, all kinds of stuff like that. But it's no secret that our kids are exposed to it. And I was thinking, like, if I can just be taken to a really sad place within like a week of just consuming atheist content, like if I can be taken to a dark place like that, then like what about our kids? Like, what about like a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old? Like, you know, I remember saying to a friend of mine ages ago, like, you would never sit your child in front of a person whose aqidah you don't know. Like, you wouldn't sit them in front of someone in private whose aqidah you don't know, whose political views you don't know, whose character you don't know, whose motives you don't know, and just leave them there in private. But that's kind of what you're doing if you sit and you let your kids watch a phone on YouTube. They can click on anything. Anyone can put stuff on YouTube, and it can have any kind of ideology behind it, right? Like, we really, really need to be careful about that. You know, it's very, very serious, because, you know, we end up accidentally kind of indoctrinating our kids into things that we don't believe, right? And a lot of it's just through lazy parenting. Like, you know, as I said at the beginning of this video, like, it feels like we just live in a time where we're bad at parenting. I don't know if we kind of romanticize our own upbringings a bit, I guess, don't we? Like, we think that the way we were raised was so great, but obviously there were flaws in that. I watched tons of TV growing up. Absolutely loads of it. And, like, you know, it'd probably be fair to say that I was, like, probably really sexualized through it, even as well, like, without my parents knowing. Do you know what I mean? Like, having a TV in your home was relatively new to my parents when they had kids, and the kinds of things that were going to be on TV and pushed in our homes and you know, just distributed throughout the world were not really known to our parents at the time when they were sitting us in front of the TV. Because I probably grew up watching TV every day. Do you know what I mean? And I didn't like grow up in a city. I grew up in like a beautiful countryside. I was playing outside all the time. Yeah, subhanallah. But you know, I realized something though, like, because I would say, like, this week when I kind of got down this rabbit hole of watching all of this kind of atheist content, it's a really dark place. Like, talking to people who do not believe in Allah Azza wa Jal, like, it's a really dark place. Like, it feels so dark there, and, you know, not that, like, you know, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us from that. Like, we ask Allah day and night to hold us firm upon Iman and upon Islam. But, like, I got to a place a couple of days ago where just reminded me how beautiful it is within Islam that you can immediately make yourself happier by understanding the deen properly. Like, at any point in your life, no matter what darkness you're experiencing, no matter what hardship you're going through, at any time in your life, you can just put the brakes on. You can stop doing what's wrong, and you can choose to turn back to Allah, and Allah will have you at any point, right? And literally, like, stopping doing a sin or stopping consuming something that's bad for a second and turning back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you could be immediately sparing yourself years in the hellfire by doing that. Like, it's a really profound and beautiful thing that at any point you can change. You can make a change for yourself. And something really interesting about actually trying to make a change in yourself is You know, I consume quite a lot of personal development content. Like, I really want to be a stronger and better version of myself. I want to make more money. I want to be healthier. I want to be a better man. And like, so I consume quite a lot of personal development content. And something that a lot of kind of these personal development coaches say is that it's really hard to make a change in yourself after the age of 25. Right, up until sort of 25, and obviously there's got to be a bit of leeway for like culture and biology and stuff because people are different. But like, after the age of 25, it's really hard for people to change. Right, it's another reason why it's really good to get married young, because if you get married young, you're much more able to just be flexible and mold to each other if you get married younger, you know. But anyway, right? So, but the Muslim, that's different for the Muslim, because, you know. So let me finish the point actually. So it's really hard to change yourself after the age of 25, right? But unless you experience trauma, okay. So either you make big changes in your life before you're 25 or through trauma. But us Muslims, because we believe in the hellfire, we can experience that trauma. That sounds a bit aggressive. Like, that sounds a bit abrupt, that I'm saying we can experience trauma as us Muslims. But because we have an understanding of the hellfire and of paradise, we can use that experience of trauma and believing that that's real to make real life changes in ourselves later. Whereas most people who don't believe in anything, you know, as I kind of said earlier in this episode, like I said, this week I've kind of got down a rabbit hole of watching like atheist content and stuff, atheist shows. And like, those guys, they don't believe in anything. There's nothing really that can hold them accountable other than just their own hearts, which are obviously just completely subjective to whatever time they live in, right? Like, that is the basis for morality for them. But for us, we get to experience that to make real life changes in ourselves. And so the affair of the mu'min is that we can change ourselves. Like, however late you are in life, you can immediately change yourself and turn back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you know, which is a really beautiful thing, a really amazing, really beautiful thing. So what I want to talk about next, so I kind of have titled this episode like parenting and marriage. And why are they together? Like, what, like, you know, I should probably explain why am I doing those two things. They seem quite two kind of specific things. Like, usually people will kind of do a talk on marriage specifically, or parenting specifically, or marriage specifically. But I think the marriage and the parenting need to be discussed together, because really, like, if you don't get your marriage right, you're raising your kids in a home that is there's no teamwork going on. And I think it has a massive impact on the way that boys treat women and the way that girls grow up to interact with men, right? Like, the way that children witness their mother and father behaving towards each other. So like, marriage and parenting definitely need to be talked about together. And I know, but it's really a process of us getting good at marriage. Like, marriage is a, you know, like any kind of learning journey, it's something that you get practice at and you get better at. And, you know, it's not necessarily entirely all about finding the right person. Like, I feel like here in the West, definitely what I was saying about the kind of TV that I watched growing up, we're always kind of led to believe it's about finding the right person. And the movies always end when they find the right person and they get married, right? That's when it ends, right? Because it doesn't make for great watching to show people the reality of marriage, that really it's a lifelong journey of real ups and real downs. And so it's more about getting good at it, you know. Like, that's something I'd really advise young people, is really focus more about getting good at marriage. Think about getting good at being a husband and good at being a wife, rather than thinking about searching the whole earth for the right person. Because, you know, something I've kind of come to realize is that if you get married to someone, right, there are some non-negotiables. Like, for me, the religion was a non-negotiable. But other things, like when I was looking for a spouse, alhamdulillah, I'm very happy with my wife. But like, when I was looking for a spouse, I was like, look, I'm pretty happy to compromise on appearance. I'm pretty happy to compromise on health. Do you know what I mean? Like, if there are health issues that she has, no problem. Do you know what I mean? But the religion's just a non-negotiable for me. You know, so there are things like that. But pretty much everything else, like, if you find a flaw in your spouse and you would. And you think that another partner wouldn't have that, it's pretty likely that another partner would have something that's worse, maybe. Do you know what I mean? It's pretty likely that you'll just be swapping one problem for another. So it's more a journey of just getting better at marriage. But you know, sometimes if that marriage doesn't work out, like, sometimes that can be better for kids in some ways, right? Like, hear me out on this, because like, I come from a home where my parents got divorced. My parents got divorced when I was, how old? 15. So my little sister was about 9 or 10. I was 15. My brother was 17 or 18. So we're each in pretty bad times. Like, my sister, she's a little girl still. She's 9. Like, and she's, you know, later part of junior school, going to go to secondary school soon. I was about to start my GCSEs. My brother was doing his A-levels. Right? Pretty horrible time for my parents to get divorced. But honestly, I think that divorce was one of the best things that ever happened to me. You know, we always talk about kind of staying with a partner, you know, we think about staying with a partner for the kids. But really, like, my parents' divorce was for the kids. Like, it was amazing for me. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know why. I can't really put my finger on why it was so good for me. But like, as soon as my parents got divorced, everything just went better in my life. Like, I started to work harder. I had more drive. Like, I might have been going through something emotionally, but really, I just found an opportunity to just engross myself in my studies and stuff. Like, that divorce of my parents was so good for me. You know, so it's not unheard of that if a marriage is really miserable, then sometimes it's better to walk away in peace. You know, if you can walk away in peace early, then walk away in it. But my parents' divorce was messy. It was horrible. It was really messy, right? Like, I got split up from my sister, but even though it was messy, like, it really kind of made me the person I am, I think. So yeah. So anyway, that's kind of a sidetrack, really. But you know, but I kind of wanted to, you know, I thought I'd mention that. So cool. Yeah. Who else is here? Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Assalamu alaikum. Some of you have been coming and going. Assalamu alaikum, guys. Who else has joined? Who's here now? Assalamu alaikum, guys. Wa alaikum assalam. How are you guys today? I'm just doing a little, we're doing a little video, yeah, talking about marriage and about parenting. My wife's just joined. Assalamu alaikum, honey. Cool. Wa alaikum assalam. So far, for those of you who have just joined, we've kind of covered consuming content. You know, what kind of videos do you watch and what your kids watch and how it can influence you. We talked a little bit about what else? Talked a little bit about marriage, getting married young. Yeah. You know, something that I noticed massively, because obviously I'm a person who receives the emails. There's massive distrust for men. Like, that's a real big problem in our community, for sure. Because, like, I say that because I receive emails every day, because for some reason people think I'm like a matchmaker. People email me about things that they want and stuff, and there's a real big issue of, like, lack of trust in men. Like, I don't know if a lot of these girls are growing up in homes where, like, dads just haven't been very present, or dads have been unreliable, or whatever, right? Like, that's a really big problem, and I don't really know how we get past it. Like, I don't really know what the men can do to earn the trust of their wives if they've grown up in a home where the men are layabouts and fairly useless, you know. But it seems that's really common. I don't know what's happened to us. Like, it has a massive, really detrimental impact on our families when there's a real lack of manhood in the home. You know, and as I say, I get the emails, and it's usually when there's a real lack of trust. Usually, it's linked back to girls growing up in homes where men don't act like men. And I think, like, you know, definitely definitely here in the UK, I think I definitely experienced it growing up, that masculinity was almost kind of tried to be encouraged out of me. You know, so something I've maybe not talked about on this channel before, but I've said to my friends a few times is, like, I feel like in some ways I was really feminized when I was younger. Like for example, yeah, us white people, or like generally in like our liberal culture here in the West, we don't grow up thinking that boyfriends and girlfriends are a bad thing, right? So because of that, it's not off limits when you're young. Okay, so when I was young, when I was like 7, 8, 9, right, at school, our parents and stuff would think it's cute if I have girlfriends. So, Sam's gonna have his girlfriend over this weekend or whatever. So I'll be like 7 or 8 or 9. I don't know anything about women or about girls or anything really, right? But I learned that the way to get attention from these girls at school is to be more girly. because those girls want to play with girls. They're 7, 8, 9-year-old girls. They want to play with girls. So I'd get their attention by being more girly, right? And I remember that being kind of traumatic for me and difficult for me when I became a teenager, and these girls started to want a man. It was confusing for me, almost. Like, I'd gone through primary school wanting the attention of these girls, and they wanted to hang around with girls and play with other girls, and that worked. But you when you get older, you've been taught while you're younger that you get the attention of the opposite gender by being like them. But that completely changes when you grow up. It's the complete opposite, right? Like, girls always want people who are masculine, and even girls, like, when they get to secondary school and stuff, and they say that they want someone who's nice or whatever, they don't. They want a lion. They want somebody who might hurt them. Like, that's like I don't know if any of you guys watch any of like Jordan Peterson stuff, but like he talks about some really fascinating stuff about what women and men kind of really deep down what we actually want in the opposite gender. And he says he has really fascinating kind of theory, kind of story that he talks about with the film of The Beauty and the Beast, how that really encapsulates what most women really want from a man. Like, when you see women really, really interested in a man, it's often because they think that man is dangerous somehow, and they can kind of domesticate him. And he says something really funny in one of his talks about research. I think it actually comes from some ex-Google employees. Some research into what women's search results are when they search for pornography. And he mentioned some of the search terms that are so funny. Like, the difference between what these men were searching for is so different to what the women were searching for, right? Like, with the men, really visual, like, really explicit. And with the women, it's things like billionaire, pirate, vampire, and stuff like that. It's so funny. Like, it's all cases where you've got, like, dangerous man, kind of being domesticated, which is really funny. But anyway, right, so I was kind of saying that our manhood is often really, really, almost, well, definitely just discouraged. Like, I think we have habits in our culture here in the West that really feminize men, and so definitely habits. But then we're actively promoting things that kind of feminize men. Like, I remember, like, being rewarded for liking pink and stuff when I was at school and stuff like that. For those of you guys who are commenting, by the way, this isn't a video about learning Somali. We're talking about, like, family and marriage and raising kids, and I'm having a rant about manhood specifically at the moment. Yeah. But yeah. So, like, I don't know, quite often these days we're growing up in a home where women, I don't know, like, we're kind of confused about what we really want and stuff and who we really are. Because I've always found, like, the more kind of masculine I try to become, just the better my life is. Like, I find myself being more respected and more admired by my wife and stuff. That, whereas it's kind of counterintuitive. Like, we almost kind of we kind of demonize manhood in many ways and encourage men to be more feminine and kind of, like, in touch with their feelings and stuff. Well, whilst that's good, that's not a thing that's unmasculine, right? But we kind of so especially in our times, it's kind of sensitive and avoided that we should really instill in our boys, real masculinity. Like, I grew up really benefiting from really strong men, and I think, like my older brother especially, like, he's a really masculine man, right? Like, I really, really benefited from him just being, like, just a stronger, more calculated presence in the home. Because my dad isn't, like, he's a bloke, like, he's very manly in some ways, like, he's he's a working class white bloke who'd, like, go to the pub with his mates and stuff. Like, but he's quite sort of paternal and gentle in many ways. My mum's the opposite. Like, my mum's quite an aggressive business kind of woman. But to have it had an amazing impact on me, having my brother there in terms of, like, stability. And he's, as I say, like, he's really masculine. I think you should make a YouTube video about it. Well, specifically about masculinity. Here's something that I want to say, yeah? I see loads of these, like, memes online about how the Prophet ﷺ, he used to like help his wife at home. He'd like stitch his clothes and do the washing up and stuff. And whilst that's undoubtedly true, right, like that's definitely true and that is virtuous for men to do. But is that the point? Like, have we got such low expectations of men now that the thing we're encouraging them to do is the washing up, right? Whereas like when I look at families in the world, like I used to be a primary school teacher and I've done quite a lot of like community Muslim work in various masajid and stuff. The thing that we really need is like men who will provide for their families and be emotionally present for their kids, especially their daughters, right? Like that's what we really need, right? Like most women who are at home, they don't need a man to do the washing up, right? They need a man to get off the sofa, go out and provide for them. Like that's what they really need, because we have a lot of mothers all over the world who really just don't have the stability that they need, right? Like it's not that women can't work. It's none of that. It's not that. It's not that women can't work as well as men. It's that the men need to be stepping up. You know, and I think that like those are the same men who are complaining that their wives don't respect them, right, or that their wives, you know, aren't treating them like the man of the house. But like, but if you were to step up, you were to act like a man, and even I go so far as to say, I go even so far as to say that like that women, even if they don't know it all the time, they will come to respect you more if you're more masculine. Like sometimes you might even need to say things and do things that displeases her in the short term. Like I'm speaking to the wrong audience here, because I think I've got pretty much all sisters in this group, but that's the case sometimes, because sometimes, you know, men, if you know, Allah Azza wa Jalla has appointed the men to have a certain role in the home, and we need to step up to it. That's the reality of it sometimes. So yeah, of course we need role models for both, of course, but the role models that we need, yeah, I think should be more proud to uphold more traditional masculine and feminine roles, or men's and women's roles. 100%, I 100% agree with you, sister. The sister's just saying there should be no shame on a woman to stay at home. Of course not. Of course not. Like, do you know what? Something that makes me so sad, something that upsets me so much is like when I hear women, like my mum's a businesswoman, like she's, you know, she started a company, she's been quite wealthy, and she's quite competitive and has quite masculine traits in many ways, as a lot of women who are politicians and CEOs and stuff. They're often there because they have very masculine traits, right? So they're often very competitive, not very agreeable, and stuff like that. And like I've heard women say, you know, staying at home and raising my kids, it's not enough for me. Like, how dare you say it's not enough for you to raise your children? And do you know how much I would love that? Do you know how much I would love to stay home full time, my main role to be nurturing my two boys? I would love that more than anything in the world. But my wife's better at it than me. She carried those children in her womb for 9 months. She went through hours of agony to deliver them that I never did. Like there are ways that she breastfed those children. Like. The mother is so at one with their children in a way that's so beautiful, and for a woman to throw that away to wear shoulder pads and trousers and go to work and obey her boss instead of being at home helping her children, it makes me sick. It makes me so sad. Not because I expect women to behave a certain way, but because I envy it. Like I envy to have that connection with my children and to stay at home and nurture them, and for that to be my main thing. Like I'd absolutely love that. And then even so, like it's not even effective. It's not even efficient to have both parents working full time. Like, name any company that operates properly, or any team in any way, of any kind, that all the members are doing the same thing, right? Like, there's this idea now that husband and wife should both be working, should both do the cooking, should both do the washing up, should both do the whatever, right? But no company, no efficient organisation that's not dysfunctional runs like that. Right? At any company, you have the accountant is good at the accounting. Do the accounting and you're good at the accounting. Like, what would be the point in having the cleaner come and do the accountings, and the accounting say, oh, so the cleaner, I'll do. They're both perfectly good roles. We need both the roles, right? It's not about one being worse than the other. But, man, it makes me so sad. You know, like, in my family, I'm not really, I don't know, I feel like my upbringing suffered a lot from not having. Like my mum is very, very maternal, right? Like she is a really maternal, caring, loving mother, 100%. But like most of the women in my family are really successful business people. You know, like the most financially successful people that I know are my two aunties, my dad's sister, my mum's sister. They both earn 6 figures. hundreds of thousands of pounds a year they earn. One of them's the CEO of an estate agency here in the Midlands, one of the biggest here in the Midlands. And my other auntie was a very, very senior tech writer for Google. And they're the two most successful people financially that I've ever known. And they're both women. Like it's you know, so I'm not saying this from something that's just very kind of anecdotal. I'm not saying, oh, the women, I come from a background where the women were like that, so I think that's how it has to be. Like, there are exceptions. Those women, my two aunties, are obviously exceptions, right? Like, the auntie who's my dad's sister, like, she's a lesbian, she's gay, right? So she doesn't have children. Like, she's obviously just got a different approach to life. She's obviously just got a different way of looking at the world and stuff. And you know, she's a badass at what she does. Like, she's a senior tech writer at Google. She's a beast, you know. And then, you know, my other auntie, again, she's a businesswoman. Like, she's very masculine in many ways. She's like, well, when I say that, I don't mean that she looks masculine and she's not beautiful and stuff like that. That's not what I mean. I mean that usually the characteristics, and usually the characteristics that get women to very, very successful positions in politics and business are usually where they've become less feminine. Like, that's, you know, this is why it kind of amuses me, where, like, who is it, leader of the Green Party here in the UK? I remember she kind of called like a meeting between like all of like the top political women, and I thought, like, what's the point in that? Like, you basically think the same as the men. The only difference is, like, you have different genitalia. Like, you know, like, you know, women who normally get to positions like that are usually very similar to men in terms of how aggressive they are, in terms of how you know, how they're not so agreeable, how they're competitive and things like that. Hello, Samira. I'm very well, alhamdulillah. I'm just ranting about manhood and womanhood and marriage and parenting a bit. Yeah, 100% agree. So another comment here, really good comment. So there's a high divorce rate due to a lot of men expecting an old-fashioned, more traditional role for women to do all the housework, but they also want her to help out financially. So yeah, men, you can't have it both ways. Men, you cannot have it both ways, right? Like, if I feel like the men should take it upon themselves to kind of take the lead on that. I think sometimes it can make more sense for men's actions to kind of earn a position like that. You know, like, I think if men show that they're working hard and show that they're taking the initiative to really work hard and really bring in money, and they're not spending much on themselves, and they're putting money aside for it, they're giving money to their wife and saving money for their kids and stuff. I think often what I've experienced is that women choose to have a more traditional role. Like women, like, often women love to be a valued team member of a man who is really upholding the home like that. So you know, that's definitely true. Like, men who expect to have it both ways, they're very, very misled. You can't have the best of both. You know, you can't expect your wife to help out financially and for her to do all of the work at home. You can't. You know, sometimes husbands and wives get into a really difficult to track competition of who's doing more. You know, like, so sometimes the husband might say to the wife, you know, like, I've been at work all week and you're at home, and I've come home 5 days, there's no dinner and the house is messy and stuff like that. But the wife can say, yeah, but I raise our 8 children. But, you know, I also take the kids to school. I also help them with all of their homework. Like, you can very easily get into like a back and forth of who's doing more in the home. Whereas, like, you really, really need to, you know, as you're kind of married for longer, you kind of really develop a what's the right word? Like, an empathy for one another. You know, because you know, in my home we have quite a traditional setup. I think my wife and I, you know, typically I work and my wife is at home. Yeah, that's kind of our setup. But sometimes I come home and I see the amount that she does, and I think, like, you do way more than me. Like, for you to take care of all the home, and I'm taking care of all the finances, you're still doing way more than me. Like, I have my stresses. Like, like, obviously I have my stresses. Like, I'm in charge of all of the bills, all the rent, the car, all the transport, like, everything like that. I have my pressures and stuff. But sometimes I come home and my wife's got a newborn baby and a 3.5-year-old at home, and you know, and it's so intense. And when you've got kids that age, it's so intense. Like, Yusuf, our eldest, he's constantly on the go, right? Like he wants to have conversation with you. He wants to be showing you his toys. He wants you to be actively engrossed in his like imaginary games and stuff. You know, he wants you to be teaching him things. He wants to be asking you questions all the time, as well as like a newborn baby. Like our Eunice, he's a real screamer. Like some babies, they'll wake up and they'll need milk and they'll be like, "Hey, Dad, can you get me some milk?" Like they just kind of like whinge a little bit. But our Eunice, like, he's either chilling and he's happy, or bam, he's screaming. Like, it's one or the other. And my wife's working so hard. May Allah reward her at home dealing with that, you know. So it's really hard. It's really difficult to kind of find the balance of like, are you both pulling your weight, you know? And you know, we just need more empathy for each other, really. You know, we really need more empathy for each other, because I know sometimes husbands, and maybe I've been guilty of it myself in my life as well, we ask Allah to make us better wives and husbands, and to put more barakah and blessings into our marriage, but sometimes we might come home and, like, because there's something wrong, maybe the living room's a mess, maybe dinner's not ready, maybe, I don't know, maybe the kitchen's a mess or whatever, right? Maybe you come home and you've not got pyjamas to change into because they're not washed or something, right? Maybe something like that, I don't know. Like, but and men might often complain about that, but you know, that's men really need to have more empathy for their spouses, I think, because you know, because the mothers really go through something at home. Like, it's, I think there is a bit of, I know that there is science to suggest that it's not actually true that women can multitask better than men, but I suspect they can. Like, for me, I can only do one thing at a time. Like, if I'm in the kitchen and I'm trying to fry an egg, right? And my wife comes in and she's like, "Oh, can you just proofread this email for me?" Or she's like, "Oh, can you just hold Eunice?" I'm like, "Back off, woman. Back off, woman. I'm trying to find the salt and pepper." Right? Like, I can only do one thing at a time, right? But like, my wife at home, she's got 2 kids. Like, and lots of women, especially in the Somali community, have lots more than that. Allahumma barik. Like, all going on. You've got food on the go. You're trying to think what dinner's gonna be ready. You're trying to think about what baggage your husband's gonna bring home from work when he comes in. And like there's so many different things. But when I'm at work, like, the best way I can operate is I'm doing one thing at a time and I'm going deep. Like, when I'm making a video, that's the only thing I'm doing in my life. Like, right now, I'm speaking directly to the 8 of you who have been so kind as to listen to me. That's all I'm doing in my life right now. Like, and I'm going deep. Like, I'm trying to spill the deepest truths about the opinions that I have and things that I can kind of share with you. There's nothing else going on. But, like, I definitely believe that there is some truth to that. Women kind of handle that. Because I find it really stressful as well. If I'm at home and I'm trying to concentrate on something, like, sometimes it's a big issue for me working from home, because with my work and running the SamOfSomalia channel, as well as my Arabic courses and stuff, sometimes I'll work from home, and I really don't believe that's good for men. Like I remember when I went to university and when I was thinking about my career and stuff, I really thought, like, I really want to be a present father for my kids. Like, I really want to create a work situation for myself where I can work from home. But now I'm actually in that position. I don't believe it's healthy, really. Like, I don't really believe it's healthy for a father to be at home all the time. Like it's hard for my wife to understand what I really expect of her, because I'm at home to help with stuff, you know. And like, parenting kids is hard. There'll be times where Yusuf will really need something. He'll need to go to the toilet or whatever, and my wife will need to take him to the toilet. But Eunice is being fed at that very moment. And I, like, if my wife was at home on her own and I went out, right, I'd be able to just really go deep and focus on earning more money, right? Which is obviously what families need. Like, at the end of the day, we've got to pay our bills, you know. And my wife should pull through it. Like, should find a way to pull through it, right? Like, but if you're at home, it's so easy for my wife just to come upstairs and just say, "Sam, just hold Eunice for a few minutes." Do you know what I mean? And because I'm a man and I'm concentrating on an email, that's the hour out the window. I've got to write off that hour because I'm distracted now because I'm holding a baby, and I was focusing on the one thing that my brain's capable of at a time, and it's all a mess now. But I really believe that, you know, well, certainly for me, and other men that I've spoken to, I don't know if it is, yeah, you know, certainly for me, like, I'm not convinced that it is good for men to work from home. It's good for men to be able to work flexibly, right? Like, because sometimes there's an emergency. Sometimes sometimes you want to work flexibly because you want to take your son to the dentist. Do you know what I mean? Like the other day, I just took my son to the dentist because I work quite flexibly. Like that means the world to me. Like that's worth all of it to be able to do that. You know, so I think it's more about men trying to get themselves into a position where they can work flexibly. That's ideal for the man, right? That's ideal, but not everyone has that. Like that's such a high expectation, and that comes at such a high price. Like if you guys knew the amount that I've struggled financially over the past 4 or 5 years or whatever, like to get to a position like this, and I'm still not a millionaire. Do you know what I mean? Like at the beginning of this video, I said I'm like this car. I'm driving a Peugeot 207. Like I'm not in the big money. Do you know what I mean? But you know, it's you know, if you can work really hard to get to a position where you can work flexibly as a man, but I think it's a tall order for women to expect men to one, pay all of the bills and be really present at home. That's a tall order. Oh, mashallah. Mashallah, we've got a brother here commenting, I hope it's a brother, saying I can relate with you in more ways than one. I'm also a convert to Islam and married to a Somali woman. Yeah, okay, mashallah. I hope you're a brother. You never know these days. But, yeah. Do you think there's, because, you know, alhamdulillah, we obviously have the religion, which stipulates lots of things about our roles, you know, in the marriage, but there are definitely cultural things that come into it, 100%. You know, I think that this isn't my personal experience, but something I did kind of touch on is often women, you know, sisters who grow up in diaspora countries, I'm just going to check the time a second, okay, I've got to leave in a minute, but who grow up in kind of, you know, UK, USA and whatever, and their family are back home, whether it's, their family are from back home rather, whether it be Pakistan, Bangladesh, Somalia, Turkey, whatever, like, sometimes those men, if they go home often, or maybe they even have a second wife or a third or fourth wife or whatever, back in their home country, we have a generation of girls who just have fathers who are not present. Like, and that has a massive impact on like young girls' need for attention from men. You know what I mean? Like it's, you know, we've got this expression in English of girls having like daddy issues, which is very, very true. You know, like all of the girls that I know, or even like the women in my wife's family, like those are women who are not craving attention from men. They do not need it. Those women, like my wife's got 4 sisters, and like they have just had an emotionally present dad. Like they've got brothers in their family who are kind to them, and they've got a masculine dad who protected them and gave them attention and let them know that they were loved all the time growing up. So like those girls, they're not in need for male attention at all. Like, you know, the other sisters aren't married, but like if a guy is to kind of like make some weird move on them or whatever, like they're just not interested in it. They are not flattered by it at all. You know, and like we need that kind of confidence and self-assuredness. I don't know what the right word is I'm looking for there, but we need that in our girls. My wife really wants us to have a daughter. I'm terrified of the prospect, because we have 2 boys. We have 2 boys at the moment. When I first got married, I really wanted to have girls. When I first got married, like I wanted to just kind of have like 4 girls. Like I'm always kind of looking for opportunities to prove that I'm man enough. Do you know what I mean? I want to stand before Allah Azza wa Jal after I return to Him and just have like a record of my life where I stood up, where I stepped up. Do you know what I mean? I stepped up and did things that are difficult for men. Like I want to have a record saying like I gave the people the rights around me. Like I controlled my desires. I did things for other people that weren't necessarily easy for myself, and you know, I always kind of wanted to have girls because it's hard to raise girls. You know, you got to be a real rajul to raise righteous girls, and hence why there are a hadith about it and stuff. But now I've got boys. Man, I love having boys. Like my son Yusuf now, he's 3.5. And he's at an age where he's starting to play with toys that are fun enough for me to play with. So that's awesome. He recently got one of these like marble run things. You build this little thing and the marble runs through it and drops down to different places and stuff. And yeah, it's pretty cool. I remember one year when I was about 3, my brother would have been about 5 or 6. My dad bought us this big, I don't know if any of you guys remember those Scalextrics, I think they're called, like remote control cars that like whiz around this track. Way too advanced for us as kids, but my dad bought it for us for Christmas. And he knew he was just going to play with it all day. You know, so That's the good stuff about being a father of boys. And also, I just fight Yusuf all the time. I wrestle him all the time, beat him up a little bit, you know, you know, you know. That's what I like. I like to rough him up a little bit, give him a bit of a beating. You know, he beats me up, he gets me in a headlock. You know, we do a bit of jiu-jitsu. He loves it. Okay, guys, I really need to go, inshallah, because I'm having the tyres changed on my car, so I really need to go. Yeah, but thank you very much, those of you who have joined me. It's been very nice, and thank you also for accommodating very low production value today. Usually I at least try to be kind of sat at a desk with a guest or something, but today it really didn't work out that way. Yeah, as I say, I did have a premises booked, but I got kicked out. But you know, it's all the same stuff as long as we get to have a conversation. So that is everything for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it and enjoyed the discussion. If you guys have joined late and you missed any of it, I will be uploading this video onto YouTube as well. Yeah, so you can go and check it out over there. If you want to add anything else to the discussion as well, obviously in the comments section over there, you'll be able to do so as well. So I'll try to get this uploaded maybe tomorrow or something, inshallah. So so that's everything for the video. I will just sign off by telling you guys about a sponsor of the Arabic with Sam channel. They're not a sponsor of this channel, but I do want to mention them just because what they do is so creative and so interesting. So there's a project called Arabic Workshop, which is essentially a listening library for Arabic. Like if you're learning Arabic, or maybe you're on a course to learn Arabic, or something like my course, the Arabic in 60 Steps program, and you're learning a lot of reading, and a lot of grammar, and a lot of reading, which is what most courses are. Arabic Workshop is a very affordable resource that you can kind of bolt onto your current studies. It's a listening library. It's really easy to navigate. The student experience is amazing. You know, they've invested a lot of time, a lot of money, you know, into really making an amazing app. So go over to arabicworkshop.com, and you can also get 10% off as well. You can use my promo code. You go just put in Arabic with Sam 10, and you'll get 10% off as well, inshallah. They haven't sponsored this video, but I really wanted to give them a shout out as well, because you know, like in a way they're a competitor of mine in a way, but I don't really care, because what they've done is so good that even if I lose students to them, you couldn't, because we do something slightly different, but even if that was the case, I wouldn't mind, because it's just so good. You know, like in our Arabic language education, not much new has really been done in the past 1,000 years. Like, we essentially still just have teacher delivering information, and students have to get it in their brain. But at Arabic Workshop, they've got really fascinating and amazing and very you know very kind of techie algorithms and stuff that support getting this information into students' brains. So yeah, so that's yeah, so it's really cool. You go to arabicworkshop.com, and you can put in the promo code Arabic with Sam 10 to get 10% off. Last night, you should change your name to Sam of Languages. I've wrestled a lot about changing the name, because I do Arabic stuff, Arabic with Sam, and I'm here doing the Sam of Somalia stuff. I've wrestled a lot with that, but I'm not really Sam of Languages. I'm Sam of 2 languages, Arabic and Somali. But then, like, so really what I'm doing is, like, I'm building the Sam of Somalia to be my main thing. You know, media company, improving resources for learning the Somali language, all built around this mission of passing Somali on to our next generation, because that's really important for me, for my kids, to stay in touch with their Muslim side of their family and their Somali side of their family. So inshallah, if they do wish to go back to a Muslim majority country one day, they can do. So that's kind of the Sam of Somalia mission. And then the Arabic with Sam stuff is kind of a hobby, something else I'm doing kind of on the side, which is really important too. Like, it's, you know, as someone who has an Arabic language degree, I do feel a responsibility to try to impact a handful of people in the world if I can. So that's everything, guys. Thank you very much for joining me. And that's it. Have a great rest of your weekend, guys. Assalamu alaikum.